Today I challenge you to eat a bolt of lightning. Okay, not exactly a bolt of lightning, but eat something in a flash. In French, we say manger comme un éclair. An éclair is, you guessed it, a traditional French pastry made with pâte à choux. And these lovely babies are filled with custard cream and then dipped in a fondant icing and are lovingly decorated in very fancy ways. I'm probably going to date myself a little bit, but maybe you remember as well as a kid if your parents took you to a fancy French restaurant. I couldn't wait till the end of the meal when the waiter would come out with his little tray full of beautiful French pastries. That was my favorite part of the meal. And one of my favorites at the time was eclairs. I'm sure that's the same case for most of you. That's what we're going to do today, eclairs, but not the old-fashioned way with just a plain chocolate glaze, although they are delicious. Eclairs are very in style right now, and you'll find some pastry shops that sell them exclusively. Today I have prepared a beautiful selection of eclairs for you. We have a white glaze with cocoa nibs and gold dust. Then we have a violet eclair with lavender flowers and a green glaze with pepita chips on top. I will show you how to make these today. All you need to do is pâte à choux, and then we're going to fill it with a beautiful custard cream. It's very easy to make. And finally, we will show you how to glaze these beautiful eclairs. The first step of this recipe is to do the pastry cream because it needs to be cooled down before we fill the eclairs with it. Right now I have some milk coming to a slow boil on medium heat on the stove, and we're going to mix it with flour and corn flour, which I've already sifted in a bowl. And in there we're going to mix 4 egg yolks and some sugar. Once the milk is slightly boiling, we'll add a bit of milk to the egg mixture and then transfer the whole thing back to the stove and leave it to thicken a little bit. But right now, let's just make our base. And there's no such thing as a non-messy kitchen. Just not the same. This is not working out really well. And there we go, we have our crumbly mixture of salt, flour, corn flour, and sugar, ready, waiting for the hot milk to be slowly added in. Our milk has now come to a boil, and we will add a little bit at a time. The idea is to temper the hot liquid and mix it in very well, because if you put too much of the hot milk in one shot in the egg yolks, you're going to cook your egg yolks, and that's not what we want. We want a custard. So we're going to slowly add it in a bit. Make sure we have it all nice and mixed. Now we have tempered the egg mixture, and it's quite liquid. There's no more little pieces stuck at the bottom. We're going to pour it into our saucepan and bring it to a gentle boil for a couple of minutes to thicken the custard. Stir continuously over medium heat until the milk comes back to a boil. Then lower your heat to low and leave it for a minute or 2 on the heat to keep cooking a little bit, and then remove from heat. At that point, we'll add the vanilla extract. So you can see the custard has thickened very nicely. We will add about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. If you wanted to color your custard, this would be the point where you would add your food coloring. But right now I'm just going to mix in my vanilla extract. I'm going to keep it the plain color that it is, which is a nice little pale yellow. And now that I have it all nicely mixed in, I'm just going to pour my custard into a bowl. Let it cool a bit quicker than if I leave it in an aluminum pan. Get all your custard out. As best you can. Oops, a little bit foul. I'm gonna have to eat that. And you want it to cool completely before you put it into your eclairs, but you don't want a skin to form. So what you do at this point is take a saran wrap or a piece of plastic, and you want to cover the top of the custard so it doesn't get into contact with air. That way it will cool down without forming a skin. So once our eclairs are done and this is cooled, we'll be able to fill them. We have now mixed water, milk, butter, sugar, and salt, which we will bring to a simmer and then throw in all the flour at one time. This is really a true French recipe. It's best with this type of baking to weigh your ingredients rather than measure them the more North American way, because by weighing you are way more precise. And it's super, super important with this recipe to use bread flour because of the protein content. If you use an all-purpose flour or a cake mix, there's a lot less protein and your eclairs will be flat. Whereas with this flour, with bread flour, you will have a much more solid eclair that will stand up, and it will also have less filament inside and will make it easier to fill. So really go for the bread flour here. I have added my flour all at one shot and mixed vigorously. You will get a bowl of dough like this. It's absolutely normal. This is what you want. I remember the first time I made it, I freaked out. You put it back on the stove until you have a thermometer that reads about 170. It's going up now. I just took it off the heat. And at this point, we will transfer it to a bowl and mix it in with egg yolks. So yes, you do want a ball of dough like this. This is correct. Our dough is now in the stand mixer with the paddle attachment. And we will add half the eggs, which is about 150 grams of eggs that we want in total. And we will mix that until it's completely mixed. Then add the other half and continue mixing another minute until the whole mix is really homogeneous. Now we have our completely mixed eclair paste and we will place it in a piping bag. So you want to use a 1/2 inch coupler, not a coupler, sorry, a tip for your pastry bag, which I filled. And the idea is to pipe out 1 inch thick stripes that are 5 inches long at a 45-degree angle out of the piping bag. So let's give it our best shot and see what happens. So I've got a ruler here, so you know, I'm just going about it approximately. There's my first one, not too bad. And now we will just quickly dust the eclairs with some powdered sugar. We will now set that in the oven at 350 degrees and cook them for 40 minutes. I've placed all my eclairs on a wire rack and I will now leave them to cool before I fill them with the custard. Now here's an important tip. What you want to do is take either a pen or a pastry tip, whatever it is, and you want to poke 3 holes on the bottom. This will help any steam to escape and it will help them dry out faster. We will also use these holes again afterwards to fill our pastry cream inside because we're not going to cut them open this time. So just do 3 little holes underneath of every eclair and leave them to cool properly. Alright, so our eclairs have cooled and our pastry cream has cooled. I have placed some already in my piping bag. I have a number 12 tip on the end. It's just a round, bigger tip. Some kits come with these filling tips, but I was told that they're not really that practical. It's better to use a larger round tip like this. So what you want to do is get your pastry cream started a little bit going, because it's pretty thick, so that's one of the reasons why you want a bigger tip. You want to really hold it properly closed so you get a good pressure on there. And you insert your tip inside and give it a good squeeze. The idea is definitely to have a lot of custard in there. You don't want to have some empty pockets. And just squeeze them in until you see it coming out. Even if it comes out, make sure you move a little bit and keep squeezing. Sometimes there's some walls inside and you just don't really know if it's properly filled or not. So we can just clean that bottom a little bit. No one will know the wiser. And just keep repeating until you have all your eclairs done. Traditionally, eclairs are known for having a beautiful chocolate glaze, but we're going to do them fancy like it's so fashionable right now. I'm going to do 3 different kinds of eclairs. The first one will be the regular white glaze with some cocoa nibs. So that's just pure cocoa nibs that have been crushed. And next, I'm going to put some gold candy sparkles with them. The next, I'm going to dye my white glaze a green with a little bit of yellow to achieve more of a pepitas color. Then we're going to line some pepitas on there decoratively. And my last one, I'm going to put in my glaze a little bit of violet liqueur. Yep, that's a liqueur made from violet flowers, really interesting. And with that, we're going to add a little bit, if we need, of some violet color. And we're going to use some lavender buds as a decorative element. Can't wait to see how they turn out. Okay, so now we are going to get our icing ready to glaze our eclairs. I'm going to do 3 different batches because one will be white, one will be green, one will be violet. So I'm going to start with my base with the white, and this is 3 cups of powdered sugar. To that, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of water, and we're going to mix that up. We might need a little bit more. I'm putting a little bit less liquid than normal because I want to add some of the violet liqueur to one of them. Sorry, I'm talking all over the place. And we're just going to slowly mix this up until we get a nice paste. So we're going to add a little bit more water here. Just rechecked my recipe, and it's actually about 5 to 6 tablespoons of liquid in total, but you're better off starting with 4 and then just add 1 every time and see how it goes. You want your glaze to be still quite thick. Alright, so we are getting there. It still needs just a tiny bit more liquid, but since some of my icing will require a little bit of additional liquid, I'm going to add it per batch. So what I'm going to do now is I have a bowl that's better shaped for glazing the top of my eclairs. So I'm going to put about 1/3 of my icing in there and then flavor and color it as I want. For this one, I'm using a violet liqueur. So there you go. We have a nice violet glaze for our first set of eclairs that will be topped off with a few buds of lavender flowers. All right, blooper reel earlier. Okay, so I had to add a little bit of water because my glaze was it was too thick. So I think this is a better consistency, if you can see. So now we've got it at the right consistency. All I did was add a little bit of water. So you take your Eclair, put it side down, and turn it like this, side to side, to make sure you get all the edges done properly. At that point, pick it up on the sides. Take your finger, run just slightly on top to take off any excess. Then run your finger along the edge to get a cleaner edge. And at the bottom like this, it's gonna go straight up. Might be a little more liquid than I'd like. And add any topping that you would like. In my case, I'm adding just a few lavender flowers at one side. Keep going for every eclair that you have. And there you go, we have our first 4 batch with the violet liqueur and lavender flowers. Now I will put you on pause for a moment and we'll do the other 2 different glazes. This time I have added some green food coloring with just a touch of a dark yellow, a gold yellow, to give it a little bit more of a natural green color. And added just a little bit of water to make it more fluid, like before. So after a little practice, I decided to not run my finger down the middle on top because it made it too thin. So I'm only going to run my fingers on the outside this time. And to these, we will add some pepitas for decoration. And we'll take a short break and get our white glaze ready. This one will be white, topped with crushed cocoa nibs and gold cake decorating toppings. And there you go. We have 3 different types of eclairs. Very different than the traditional that you normally see. I'll come back and do a nice setup and you can see the final shot. And here we are with the final shot of the modern version fancy eclair. Alright, so I told you that I would challenge you to eat a bolt of lightning today. Well, I'll do it myself. I have one here ready. Remember I told you in the video that the cake flour is not good. You need bread flour so you get a beautiful solid wall. Look at that beautiful custard cream in there. It's just gorgeous. I'm going to have a bite for you. I'm going to sacrifice myself for you. I'm going to have a bite right here on camera. Better than my childhood memories. I think this one will disappear in a flash. So if you excuse me, I'll see you soon. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and check out my blog post. And I will see you soon in the next video and leave me some comments as well. Bye. This is going to be such a bitch to edit.